Hello and welcome to the fifth video of section 3. Locating elements is one of the most important things you will do. We can't do anything without interacting with the elements first, so locating elements is very important. Locating elements is obviously done differently depending on your location strategy. We can locate an element present in the page by searching for its name, ID, link text, class, or we can use a structural way to search for elements. Structural searches are done by XPath or by CSS. Let us go to the documentation. We will use the class by and one of its subclasses to locate elements. Which subclass to use obviously depends on the way you will execute the search. The by class will allow you to locate elements using one of 8 ways. Which one of these you'll end up using the most depends on your web application. I prefer to use an ID if possible. By name is my second choice. XPath and CSS are common too. They will always be an option, but they are harder to use compared to name and ID. Locating elements based on their link text, or for that matter partial link text, can work, but may be fragile. It is worse to use the link text if your application is internationalized. The text on your web page will be changing with the language, and handling that in your code can be very difficult. It is possible to locate elements using different language classes and tag names. This may be a good alternative if you want to find many elements and do something with all of them. We will see some usage of the different locators in this course. It will hopefully be obvious which selector you will use after a while. Let us look at all the different ways to locate an element. Let's start with by class name. It finds elements based on the value of the class attribute for the element you are looking for. This may work great if the class is used for only one element or a small set of elements. It will probably not be great if you have many elements with the class. The next locator is by CSS selector. By CSS selector is similar to the class locator. It can be great if you only have one or a few elements that can be located by a CSS expression. It may be futile and brittle if you use the same CSS for many elements. The next locator is perhaps one of the best ones, by ID. It will locate elements by its ID and therefore immune to things like different languages on the web page. It's fast and usually very reliable. The only setback may be that some web applications don't use IDs for elements as much as they perhaps should. If this is the case in your application, make sure that you speak to the developers and show them why this is important. Any reasonable developer will help you and add IDs where they are needed. The next locator is by link text. This is the locator we used in the small example earlier. It is reliable when the web page is in one language. It is not the best choice if the language on the page varies. By name. The by name locator is just as good as the ID selector. It doesn't always exist, but when it exists, you can choose any of them. By partial link text is similar to the link text locator above. It has the same weaknesses regarding internationalization. Use it when you have to, but be aware of the fact that it can be unnecessarily brittle. The next one is by tag name. Locating elements by their tag name is yet another option. I use it rarely as the tag names are not often unique. But at the same time, it is great if you want all the items in an unordered list. It has its use cases, but perhaps less common compared to some other locators. By XPath. The last locator is locating elements by XPath. It is very powerful and therefore not always that easy to use. XPath is a way to search in XML files, and HTML is a variant of an XML file. It is brittle if the structure of a page changes. It is also slow on some drivers. It happens so that by XPath is the only way you can use to locate an element. If you have explored all other locators and found that none of them will do the job, then resort to the XPath locator. It should, however, not be your first choice. In this video, we've taken a walk through the 8 different ways you can use to locate elements. You will probably find your favorites and use them a lot. The most stable locators are locating by ID and name. Be careful when you select your locators so you don't make your navigation unnecessarily brittle. In the next video, we will examine the Web Element interface. Stay in touch.